Hi, my name is Khyri. I'm from Queens, New York. I initially came to FIT because I dreamt of being a toy designer. I used to, as a kid, love playing with like Barbies and G.I. Joe, and as I got older, and I actually got here to FIT, I joined the illustration program, and when I applied for toy design, I did not get in, but shortly after I applied for menswear, and I fell in love with fashion. So ever since, it's been my big love. The looks that I have beside me are all inspired by African American tailoring and a mix of African tailoring. I chose to use a lot of colors inside of them, a lot of bright patterns. I was really trying to tell a story. My biggest influence for my designs was definitely the protests going on here in the streets of not only New York City, but all around the world during 2020. Seeing people being shot down in the streets and even just, being bombarded by cops really sat with me, the images and the videos, and I decided to create something that would take those images and those feelings and express them in a way that is a little bit less morbid and make us feel like we belong here. Afrofuturism to me is based on African culture altogether, and then the futurism comes in with fun shapes and cool folds. I think for me specifically, I really tried to play with shape. In my normal looks, I'm very simple and I'm very tailored, straight to the point. So I think with these, I decided to, make a few more rounder shapes, make some things a little bit bigger, play with my folds, try some new colors to really push that Afrofuturism feel, to really make it feel like, oh, we probably wouldn't wear this now, but I could definitely see me wearing this sometime soon. A big part of my time making these pieces was spent on this big folded piece. I'm very adamant about that piece because it took hours to make, from sitting there pinning and pinning and pinning. But what I thought was really cool, that I found inspiration from it at the Harlem Street Market uptown. And when I went there were so many pieces, I couldn't really decide what to make. I was stumped for 3 weeks. I didn't know what to create. It was actually just gonna be a big sheet that I was gonna lay over. And as I was walking down all those aisles, I came across this piece that looked just like this, and it really just struck so much inspiration. And I just thought it was really cool that I found inspiration somewhere that I never would have gone if I hadn't, stepped outside of my comfort zone. Try something that makes you feel weird or something that makes you feel uncomfortable. I think that was the big message that I really saw when it came to the riots too, is that these people are outside risking their lives to make change. And I didn't go that extra mile, but I feel like I tried to push that change in that same way from a different venue. So I think you should really try and do something that makes a change or makes you feel uncomfortable.
Hi, I'm Zhané. I'm from the Bronx. I'm a May 2021 FIT graduate. I specialize in sportswear. I chose fashion design because I've always seen fabric as my paint and people as my canvas. My design today was influenced by a bunch of animes that I've been watching. I decided to create my own character, and she's a space explorer, and she's black, and she's just so many things, and she just goes around the galaxy and explores. My path in fashion has been very difficult. There's been times when I've wanted to give up, and there's been times where I'm like, oh wait, I can't. I love what I do, and I could never do anything else. In the Afrofuturistic world, I just see myself creating things that are inspired by my everyday experiences, as well as things that my ancestors wish they had. I'm heavily influenced by my past, and I think it's a big part. Although we shouldn't dwell on it so much, I feel like it's a big part, because everything that our ancestors have done is the reason why we're here now. Initially, when I started designing, I tried to make things that other people would like. And then over time, I realized that it just wasn't, I didn't feel fulfilled. And that now with every piece and everything I create, I'm just trying to do it with intention. Okay, so we're gonna call my character Phi9. The main idea and concept is that she's a space traveler, in that she goes around and she just travels the galaxy, learning a bunch of things about her past, as well as just living in the future. So the number one thing that she loves to do, she likes to go down to old earth and just scavenge and explore different things. So her mesh top would basically be a net, a fishing net that she found. These wires and cords are from old gaming stations that she would have taken apart, and some of them are still functional, so she'd be able to attach certain pieces and be able to have a hologram projector. I was inspired by Aeon Flux, which is why I wanted to make the sleeves the centerpiece, because Aeon has really great shoulder pads. And I decided to use metallic fabric because I was inspired by Missy Elliott's I Can't Stand the Rain. This piece to me, and Fine Nine herself, is an example of how no matter what, Black people will continue to survive and figure out a way to create something out of nothing. So that's why I decided to go with all these cords and these wires. And on that sleeve, I wanted to have black, green, and red to resemble the Pan-African flag, also known as the Black Liberation flag.
Hello, I'm Bryan. I'm a creative director, designer for Arcoa, a New York native, originally from the Bronx. Grew up a lot of my life in South Florida, and a recent Fashion Institute graduate in menswear. My design language comes from a lot of different places, especially my day-to-day life here in New York City. I draw a lot of inspiration from architecture, urban landscapes, anime, Japanese street culture, even the feeling of nostalgia. When I was a kid, I used to love seeing the North Face puffer jackets, and I even look back onto 2000s tech wear, and I think a lot of that you can see combine and fall into place with my inspiration and into my designs. When I think of Afrofuturism, a lot of Black culture is look back on our hardships, our trauma, and oppression. And I believe Afrofuturism is a future where Black culture can unify and come together as one without the hardships, our past and our previous oppression. And as for me, being a Black designer, I believe that's like a small portion of me and my friends who are also Black coming together to start a brand and continue to push the boundaries forward without having to think about all the obstacles we had in place previously. Fashion, I feel like, is a small form of architecture. From the construction down to the structure, the design, everything is calculated, everything is aligned, parallel to the sense of building and actually creating something from the ground up. So I take a lot of techniques, I would say, from architecture, my previous background, from drafting, that helped me a lot, to pattern making and mathematics, even understanding the process of how something is built. I believe that has helped me a lot within my career as a fashion designer, and it's helped me also be able to pick up on things a lot quicker. But I draw a lot of inspiration from architecture, and it falls right back into place with what I do. My reason for designing is to be able to create something new, put something in the world that's, in my perspective, if you're a creator and you have a passion to design something, you don't want to just keep it for yourself in the world. I like to be able to share these things, and so that way people can relish, people can have, and experience the same feelings that I'm feeling, the same emotions, and be able to relate to it. And I think that's my main reason and drive behind designing. And where I want to move forward is to be able to push boundaries forward, especially for Black designers. We have a hard time getting in the industry and making a statement, and a lot of times we're apologetic for it. And I think we need to be a lot more free as Black designers, the way we want to move forward in our futures.
My name is Abigail Ohene-Kyei. I moved to New York in 2016 to further my education at Fashion Institute of Technology, and I majored in fashion design, emphasis on sportswear. I remember completing high school and having to decide, or having to tell my parents, that I wanted to study fashion design. And back home, fashion or anything creative in general, like most places, is not as respected as it should be. And they were very supportive. I remember they wanted me to do exactly what I wanted to do. So I applied to schools in Ghana, and I got into there are only 2 fashion design schools in Ghana. and now it's growing, so there are more. But I got into one of them, and I got to experience so many new things for myself and learn so much. But I knew that there was more, and I knew that I needed to explore and experience so much more to really understand the full scope of fashion. I started applying to schools outside of Ghana, and I got into FIT. It was absolutely incredible that I got in, and I knew that this was a gift from God. So I traveled and I came here, and that was not an easy feat either, because settling into an environment that is not predominantly Black or predominantly people that looked like me was very different. And I did enjoy learning about different cultures and different people and how people relate to the things that I would relate differently to. And I'm glad that I got to experience all of that at FIT. These looks were influenced by my family and my culture and my experience as a Black woman living in America. I have 6 family members, and I decided that for this collection, I will put every single one of them in this look. So I have 6 separates in this collection. So this is my family, my mother, my father, my sisters, and my brother. And this is actually my favorite photo of both of them, kind of depicting exactly who they are and who we are together. This is my favorite piece, to be honest. It's the most simple, and it's the first one that came to mind when I started thinking about this collection. And it's inspired by my dad, which is the traditional way that the men wear their cloth fused with the Western suit. And I put on pearls, which symbolizes pretty much my experience as a Black woman living in America, and how even though it's rough and we go through a lot, it's still a very beautiful thing to see. This garment represents my 2 oldest sisters and my mother as the belt. And I have the second born at the top, first born at the bottom, and my mom holding them both together. And these pearls also are a representation of myself. So I decided to put a splash of pearls on every single one of the garments, and to accessorize with pearls as well, to give it a more classic and a more elegant look to it. This garment was inspired by my little brother as the pant, and the third born, who's also my dad's favorite, at the top. And I added this scarf over the top as a representation of how the women usually have, in my culture, usually have a cloth over them for whatever they need, maybe to put a child at their back or to cover up, or for whatever reason, we would always have a cloth over us. So Afrofuturism is taking something from the future and taking the past and building something amazing in the present for the future, for the present generation. And to me, my collection, I see that looking back, little me or younger me would look at me now and say that it is actually possible to create something like this and to inspire future generations to do and to be who they want to be.